Did you guys get a message that the session is being recorded? Right, so good. Well, welcome to everyone that is watching this video, on demand. I'm going to start talking about emotional intelligence. It's really the capacity to be aware of our emotions and the emotions of others, and to leverage social awareness, which I'm going to talk about here in the next slide, to have more effective interpersonal social relationships. So the idea here is that we will be more competent and more effective in when we interact with other people by having the ability to understand ourselves and our emotions and the others and the emotions of others, right? So one of the questions that I get the most is leadership, is emotional intelligence something that we can learn, or is something that you're either born with or not born with, right? So obviously emotional intelligence is something that you can absolutely learn. And that's why we are here today, because I believe that through training like this, you actually can learn to become more emotionally intelligent. So as I go here, so here is, I'm going to, in the next two slides, I'm going to share the same information, just organized differently. The four components of emotional intelligence are self-awareness and self-management, called the self duo. And then we have social awareness and relationship management. So I organize it this way because some people, this works better for some folks, is that think about it in that you have two columns: self, for ourselves, right? And then others. So first is us, and then the other people that we work with right here in the right column. And then you're going to think about these arrows as first is awareness. And awareness is about like consciousness, is understanding, is observation. It's like knowing, right? It's knowing, understanding. And then we have management, which is management is what are the adjustments and changes that you want to do based on what you know, right? So here, awareness is about knowing and understanding. Management is about acting with the knowledge and understanding that you have. So if we combine the rows with the column, right? The first one, if we think about ourselves, we combine it with awareness. That gives us self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Our ability to know more about ourselves, right? Who are we? How do we, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, how do we conduct ourselves, how do we react to different things, what are our hot buttons, what makes us sad, what makes us happy, all of that, right? And but something that is important is that people don't realize that who you are is not only who you think you are, but what other people think that you are is also part of who you are. And that sounds crazy to some people. They say, oh no, but that cannot be because only I know who I am. Like, right? It's like Refugio. I am Refugio, so only Refugio knows who I am. But that's actually not the case. Because interestingly enough, for example, I could ask part of who you are, your mom knows. So I could talk to your mothers, for example, and they would be able to tell me something about who you are that you may or may not know. And that is also true. Regardless, in some cases, regardless of whether you agree with that or not, it is part of who you are. How can that be the case? Because what happens is that who you are is also how people perceive you. So that if people see you in a certain way, there is a specific trait of you that is being observed by multiple people, regardless of whether you agree with that or not. That is part of who you are. And this is why we have 360 degrees feedback, is because we cannot go. Imagine that, like, Amalia, if I was Amalia's boss, right, she's reporting to me, and I would say, okay, Amalia, give me, complete here your performance review. Tell me who you are. And she will write who she is. And then I go by that. That wouldn't be accurate, right? Because she will only be writing about her own perception of who she is. And that's why I need to go and ask other people that she works with, her boss, her everyone. And if I was writing a biography, so Jacqueline, for the biographies that you guys publish, it wouldn't make sense to only talk to the person. If we're doing a biography about Refugio, I cannot sit down, it wouldn't make sense for Jackie to sit down with Refugio for a few weeks, ask Refugio who he is, Refugio tells his story, and then we publish the book. That book would not be accurate because it is only capturing what Refugio thinks about himself, which is not the complete picture of who Refugio is. All right, so super key. It's important to be open to feedback, to ask others, hey, Amalia, how do you perceive me? You've known me for many years. What are your observations of me? How do you perceive me? And then being open and humble to receive the feedback and incorporate it into our understanding of who we are. self-awareness. And self-management is, now that I know who I am, let's say that, hey, I grew up in New York. So when I moved to Minnesota, and then now people tell me how, hey, Luis, you're a great guy and stuff, but you can be very direct, and you sometimes you come across very abrupt, and people kind of perceive you as a little aggressive there in your tone, and it's like, okay, I need to be open to that and say, well, that is how people in Minnesota are perceiving me. Then I need to do something about it. So then that's where self-management comes into place, where you say, okay, now I have the ability, with the understanding that I have about myself, I can make adjustments and changes so that I can increase my effectiveness in the workplace. Then we have, when we look at the column of others, we have social awareness, and that would be the ability that I have to observe my environment and my system. So, for example, hey, Carolina, you work at We Are All Human Foundation. So, what kind of organization is We Are All Human, right? So, is it how is the communication in We Are All Human? Is it direct? Is it more indirect? How do people break news to others? How do uh, how do things get done? Are people, you have to be fast, can you be slow? When you make a mistake, is it okay to tell people that you made a mistake or not? And so that is understanding your environment, right? It's also called social system awareness also. So, and then the last one is, once you have the information about the system, about the people that you work with, then what are the changes and adjustments that you want to make in how you relate and conduct yourself with others so that you can be more effective? For example, if I was working I get a job at Best Buy, just to say any company, and I learned that at Best Buy, hey, people start working very early, right? So it's like people at Best Buy wake up at 7 a.m. or start working at 7 a.m., right? And X, right? When they communicate, they're very direct in their communication. I was like, well, I grew up in Iowa, and in Iowa, people kind of from the Midwest, we go around the bush and stuff, and we don't really tell things people straight. Then I have a decision to make. It's like, okay, if this environment where I am, people are very direct, for me to be able to be successful here, I will have a higher chance to be successful if I am willing to make the adjustments in who I am and how I conduct myself to be more in line, more aligned, and in tune with the environment that I am in. So in this particular example, I will need to be more direct so that I can navigate myself and be more successful and thrive in this environment where everybody else is more direct. Okay. So, and that's kind of actually a conversation that we have is from an immigration standpoint. Let's say, I came from Venezuela, for example, and one of the things about Venezuela that is very interesting is the use of humor. Venezuelans make a joke about everything. Everything is funny, everything, right? It's like the country is coming apart and all the political situation. People, oh, I always have a joke about something. So if they send you to work in Venezuela, you will need to learn how to navigate with that, and you're going to need to learn some jokes to also, right? And then if you're coming from there into an environment, if you move to Germany or to Japan, you can't be in Japan telling jokes to people and stuff because that's a different culture, right? So then I need to be willing to make the adjustments and assimilate. I know the word assimilation can have a negative connotation, but I say from a good place is that there is some level of assimilation and adjustments that you need to make so that you can basically, kind of work better and more effectively in that environment. So there you go. It's called in emotional intelligence that is referred to as relationship management, your ability to manage yourself to have better relationship with others. Okay. All right. So when we look at the emotional and social intelligence leadership competence from by Daniel Goleman, we have, I already talked to you about self-awareness and self-management, social awareness and relationship management. And so in self-awareness, we have emotional self-control. We'll talk to you more about that. How do we manage, once we know the feelings that we're feeling, how we can control them for our own benefit? In self-management, there are things like I'm sorry, I was talking about emotional self-awareness, understanding our emotions, but in self-management will be emotional self-control. Here, I learn about what I'm feeling. I identify, well, I am angry, I am frustrated. And then here is your ability to control those emotions so that they don't work against you. And then, we have things like adaptability. I've been talking a lot about adaptability. I was at 3M yesterday, basically talking to leaders about adaptability, achievement orientation, positive outlook. And then within social awareness, right, in our ability to learn our environment, our system, to be able to navigate more effectively, there's something very important called empathy. And I'll tell you more. I will dedicate a number of slides today to talk about empathy. And then we have social awareness. It's my understanding of the organization that I am operating in, right? And in relationship management, we have influence, our ability to obviously influence others, coaching and mentoring, conflict management. How do we effectively, navigate through change and conflict? Teamwork, how do we work well with others? And then there's a growing area of leadership that has to do with inspiring and inspirational leadership. So in the past, many decades ago, the thought was that being inspiring was not a part of a role of a leader, right? If I become the president of a company or the CEO, I am the CEO. So you want inspiration? Here is I'm going to deposit your compensation twice a month, and I'll give you a bonus at the end of a year, and there you go. That's your inspiration and motivation. If that doesn't motivate you, sorry, my friend. Well, the new generation of folks joining the workplace, that is not working with them. So we are training leaders to be more inspirational. It has to do with we can no longer tell people what they need to do and expect that they would do it, but now we need to think about purpose. Why? So like I have my students, so I teach at the U, and I have my students, I give, oh, we have to do this homework, we have to do this assignment, and they're like, okay, why? Why is that assignment? What's the purpose of that assignment? What am I going to learn with that assignment? So I have to sit with them and I have to talk to them about the assignment, why it is important, how it connects with the class, how it's going to make them better. And once I do that, then they're very excited to work on the assignment. And so their motivation comes from a connection. It's like I need to feel it. I need to connect with it in my heart. So now I'm going out with other leadership experts, training managers to become inspirational, because it is now a need that leaders need to be inspirational, because the new generation will not just take an order. They need to be inspired to do what they have to do. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a first exercise of the day. Is a self-awareness exercise. Is something that I do when I do executive coaching. So this is a fun game. There is a sentence on the bottom that says, I consider myself a good person, but I know that so I'm going to go ahead and invite, I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see our beautiful faces here. And I would love to invite a brave volunteer that wants to get us going here. And your role is to finish the sentence. I know that I am a very good person. However, I know that sometimes I would like to take that challenge. Who's our first volunteer and brave volunteer of the day today? Brave soul.
I procrastinate sometimes.
Okay, that's Anna. All right, so Anna, the sentence will be, then I know that I'm a very good person. However, I know that sometimes I procrastinate. Okay, very good. So Anna, how do you know that you procrastinate?
Because at the end of the week, I see a pile of things to do, and I want to do most of it, and I try to prioritize. But that's my thing. Like I have to focus in that everything is important, but I have to make some kind of a strategy to
Mhm.
accomplish all of it at time.
Okay, so has anybody ever told you that you procrastinate?
No, but I am like perfectionist. So if
Mhm.
that doesn't come as I want to, I kind of
Mhm.
feel bad with myself.
Okay,
Like I
but
feel myself that I'm not doing the things
yeah.
exactly.
So actually, and I want to congratulate you, because nobody has told you to procrastinate, but you yourself you have identified that you procrastinate. So you have a good self-awareness, right? It's like you've gone through the exercise yourself to identify something that is not positive, right, about you, and you are confessing it, right? We have like we're like a church here today, so we're making confessions. And Anna has started by making her first confession of the day is that she procrastinate, and it takes a lot of courage and a lot of value, right? And brave. You have to be brave to say, hey, you know what? I procrastinate. It's a failure, but I'm living with it, right? I'm addressing it. I'm facing it. I am accepting it, I'm embracing it, and I want to do something with it, right? Okay, so who else? Who else would like to take the self-awareness test challenge today to say, I know that I'm a very good person. However, I know that sometimes who's the next brave volunteer of the day? All right, Ana Beatriz, let's
Thank
do it.
you.
Let's go for it.
Well, sometimes I know I can be very bossy, like
Mhm.
yes, very demanding. Yes.
See, the second confession of the day. So Anna, you can get intense, right? And you're like, you get on people and you're like, people are like, oh, here comes Ana Beatriz again. Oh my gosh. Wait, so Anna, how do you know that? How do you come to that realization?
Because someone told me.
Because someone, so
Yes, and I was very
congratulations to
thankful for
you.
that.
Because one of the things that happens is when people give us feedback that is not positive, it messes with our ego, right? So it's like it's not good. It's not fun when somebody tells something that we don't like, right? So if somebody ever came to you, Ana Beatriz, and say, "Hey, Ana, kind of gotta, bájale dos ahí porque está fuerte la cosa, very intense." So, and then kudos to you because you didn't dismiss that, right? But you said, "Hey, this is a person that I trust, and the person is bringing this information." Going to accept it. And you are sharing here with us that there is that thing that you may not necessarily be proud of, that somebody told you about it and you have accepted and believe it to be true. And that is super important because one of the things that, in leadership, one of the limitations that we see is what we call coachability. Coachability is the ability that you have to believe the feedback that people give you, especially obviously when it is negative, and your willingness to actually take that feedback and incorporate it to act on it, right? So, which will be my second question then is, Ana Beatriz, now that people have gone to you and told you that you can be bossy and you believe it and you accepted it, have you already done something about it? Do you plan to do something about it? Or kind of where are you at with the second part of that, which is the action?
Well, every time that I talk with the team, I try to first to understand how to do it with more empathy, you know.
Mhm.
So sometimes I success, sometimes not.
Okay, perfect. And you're in the right place because that's basically what we're going to talk about today. Is we're going to talk about everyday scenarios, and we're going to go ahead and discuss instances or it's like alternative ways to go about things by using more emotional intelligence, more empathy, more compassion. Okay. Any final taker? Anybody else before we keep going? Who else wants to take the challenge? Did we lose Amalia? Amalia is probably driving right now. Anybody else? Carolina? Jacqueline, who are my friends, mis amigas, my girlfriends.
I want to nominate Iyali.
Aha, dale, Ijali, let's do it. Where is Ijali? Aha, Ijali, go ahead.
Um, okay, so I know I'm a very good person, but sometimes I think I could be all over the place, and I think sometimes I have everything on my mind, and I don't always communicate everything that needs to be communicated.
So it's like dispersed sometimes. Like you think
Yeah.
you're thinking of yourself like I'm very well put together, and then you go to this meeting, you talk, and then when you leave, you're like, oh, I forgot to say these things and stuff. We didn't really have it right, everything in your head. So again, same questions that I've been asking others. Is that how do you know that? Is that something that you yourself found out? Somebody told you?
A combination of both. Like I
Okay.
noticed I do that in my personal life when I have plans, like with people, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I don't have any plans, and then I realize that I did have something to do. But also in work, I believe I tend to like just let everything go, and once I mention everything, it's like, okay, then everyone should know everything. But honestly, there's better ways to communicate, and I found out through different projects, like that I just haven't shared everything completely. You just notice because in my head I'm like maybe step number 2, but I forgot step
Mhm.
number 1. Like I just noticed. Yes.
And actually, I have news for you. You're very young, but as we go and
Oh,
we get old, when you get to be old, like me, and then it's harder for your brain to keep all these things together. So, like, sometimes I'm afraid to say it's like, hey, I have two ideas. The first one, because if I say that when I'm gonna say the second, I've already forgot. No, but obviously there are techniques that you can write down things and then use things that can help you. But I'm going to congratulate you also because you've said that there is a combination of you realize that yourself, and it seems like you also have people that have brought that up to your attention. So in executive coaching, one of the very, very important things, I talked about coachability, is self-awareness. Because if people don't know, if you don't know who you are and what are your weaknesses and your strengths, and sometimes people are like, hey, and actually one of the things that happens with coachability is that as we go up through the chain, as we go, start to move up through organizations, and you become a manager, a director, vice president, and then president, and something, the higher you go up through the chain, it says the research that you start to become less coachable. And the reason why that happens is that every time you are promoted, they're telling you, wow, you are amazing, you're very good, you are capable of more. And the way that the brain receives that information is, I'm doing great, so it's like I don't need to change, I am fantastical as I am, right? So then one of the things that happens is it messes up with your brain, because like if the company is saying, we're promoting you, we're paying you more money, we're going to give you a bigger team, we're going to give you a bigger division, a bigger business to manage, then your brain, if I went to that person and say, hey, here's something that you have to work on, you're like, what do you mean? It's like I've been given more responsibilities, I'm being paid more money, they're giving me a bigger title, why do I need to work on anything? I'm doing fantastic, right? So then that's one of the challenges that when we work in executive coaching, is that as people move up through the organization, they become less coachable. So my advice to you is, don't let that, it doesn't matter if they promote you at work, they're not telling you you're perfect. They're saying you're capable of more. We want to support you. You have a career here, but you still have opportunities to work on. And it is self-awareness, one of the components that helps, and coachability by listening to the feedback of others and accepting it and having the willingness to work on the feedback that you are receiving. I'm going to go ahead and continue going through the presentation. Let me know if anybody can confirm that you are looking at the slides. Can you see a slide? Maybe Ayali, can you confirm?
Yeah,
Yes?
I can
Okay,
see it.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So let's keep going here. So over a decade ago, I started to, when I was interested in doing this type of work, I was motivated by the realization that there is a misunderstanding of what empathy is. A lot of people think of empathy as like, oh yeah, you are sad, and I'm gonna be sad with you, right? It's like, hey, there was a loss in your family, you lost a loved one, and you are sad, I'm going to accompany you in your sadness, and that is empathy. But actually, even though that in fact is a component of empathy, that is not all that empathy is. Empathy is not about being sad with somebody because somebody is sad. There is way more about empathy, and I want to share with you. I'll start by sharing this definition of empathy by the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and it's a very long definition. It's the longest definition of empathy that you would ever see in your life, and you can read it yourself, but I want to read it with you and for you because we want to stop at certain keywords that we're going to talk about through the presentation today. So first is that empathy is an action, is the action of understanding, keyword understanding, being aware of, we've talked about awareness, self-awareness and social awareness, being sensitive to, develop a sensitivity uh, to feel, right? To feel people, to feel situation, to feel that something is off, right? And vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience. So people were thinking that empathy was about feelings. Somebody is sad, and I am sad with the person, but realize that empathy is not only about feelings, it's also about thoughts. We'll talk about that in a moment, and experiences of another, either the past or present, without having the feelings, thoughts, and experiences fully communicated in an objectively explicit manner. So It means that with empathy, even when somebody is not telling you explicitly what is happening to them, you still have the sensitivity, you have the awareness, you have the connection there to sense that something is happening. You know, when you ask people, hey, you know, what's happening? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, the person is telling you that they are okay, but you know that they are not okay, right? Okay, so we gotta read body language and all that beyond what people are telling us. So shorter definition is empathy is to feel, think, and or experience in union with another person, even if that person does not provide all of the details, and regardless of whether their situation reflects our own situation or not. So there's something very interesting that when people say, oh, you know, empathy is because somebody is sad and I am sad with a person. Well, that is one component of empathy. That is 1/3 of what empathy is, because empathy is divided in three components, in three areas. The first area, which people think that that's all that empathy is called emotional empathy. You are sad and I can understand, I can feel, I can, you know, it helps me to understand what you are feeling, you know, right? So you are sad because you lost a loved one. It makes sense that you are sad. So through emotional empathy, it helps me to understand how somebody may be feeling. But that is 1/3 of it. The other third is something called cognitive empathy that has to do with understanding how somebody else thinks. So now it doesn't have anything to do with being sad. It's understanding why somebody thinks in the way they're thinking, right? So the first two right here in the first, in these 2/3 of empathy, this has to do with understanding. This is understanding how somebody feels, and this is understanding how somebody thinks. But these two first, empathy, have nothing to do with doing anything for anyone. This does not include doing anything for anyone. This is only about understanding. In fact, there is a very counterintuitive component of empathy that confuses people, is that empathy, I can use empathy to do something bad to other people. How can that be the case? Sounds crazy, right? Well, in the first two kinds of empathy that has to do with understanding how people feel and understanding how people think, let's say if I'm a bad politician, right? If I am one of those politicians that is just out there because they want to, right? You know, have their own agenda and they want to make money and stuff. Well, I use emotional empathy. I go out into the streets and the towns, and and I go to the houses and I talk to people and I kiss babies and I, hold babies and all that, and I talk to people. And when people tell me what they need, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and all that, I'm going to then use that information, and I can use that information against them. For example, dictators, they will hear what people want, what they need, what they are thinking, and all that. And then they use that to write the script of their, political speeches, basically to tell people what they want to hear so that they can vote for you, right? And when they vote for you, then you don't do what they want and you do something else. Well, that is because the first two components of empathy, emotional empathy and cognitive empathy, do not have anything to do with doing anything good for anyone. This is just understanding, right? And then the third component, which is what people think empathy is called empathic concern or empathetic concern. Some other experts call it compassionate empathy. And some people think of it of just empathy. Compassion. So some people think of compassion, empathy, empathetic concern as compassion. So the way to think about it is think about a vector where on one side of a vector you have cruelty. Is I enjoy people who are suffering, people who are feeling pain. I enjoy that. So because of that, I torture people because I inflict pain on people, because when people are feeling pain, I enjoy it, right? So that's on one side of the vector. Then if we move through this vector towards empathetic concern, it would be like, okay, then there are people who are suffering, and I didn't cause the suffering. I didn't torture them. I was not responsible for their suffering. but I enjoy seeing them suffer, right? So that's why I go to a bullfighting, I go to boxing, I go to something where somebody's being like I am at the mall and there are people fighting, and I'm like, wow, I gotta watch this. I'm not causing the pain on them, but I enjoy seeing how somebody gets beat up, right? And then we go into there is a point where somebody is feeling pain, somebody is suffering, and I don't enjoy it, but I don't do anything about it, right? So I'm indifferent about it. So I'm walking, I'm on the street and there is a homeless person, they're there, or somebody's sick, hey, somebody has cancer and they need help, and I didn't cause that pain to them. And I am not enjoying that they are homeless or that they are sick, but I don't have enough energy to do anything for them. I just, oh, okay, too bad. They are suffering. Wow, that's bad, but I don't do anything. And then if we continue going in that vector, then we get to a point where I see people suffering or having pain, and I cannot be indifferent. I need to act and do something about it, right? Those are the people that do charity. They come out with they put something on GoFundMe because they need to do something to help somebody that is in pain. And then all the way to empathetic concern on the other extreme, the opposite of cruelty is that you will go out of your way to help someone to avoid having someone feeling pain, even when that pain, even when you didn't create that pain. So somebody is suffering, I didn't create that pain. I don't enjoy that the person is feeling that pain. I am not indifferent about it. The opposite. I need to engage and act, and I'm going to do something to help that person no longer be in pain. Okay, so that is what empathetic concern is, also called empathic concern, compassion, empathy, or just compassion. So here we have our second test of the day, right? It's a social awareness test. Look at this sequence of four quadrants here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and tell me, I like to ask you, if there is, if any of the three types of empathy that I just went through, emotional empathy, cognitive empathy, and empathetic concern, is any of the three types of empathy that I showed to you manifested in this sequence? I need a brave volunteer to take us through it. Anyone that would like to take this test? Is any of the three kinds of empathy manifested in this sequence?
Yes.
Who said yes? Let's see. Who was that? Who answered yes?
Sandra.
Sandra? Okay, Sandra, take us through it. Which one is present?
I forgot which one it is, but
Okay, so I'll go back right here.
The emotional.
Okay, so
Well,
where
I
is
feel
it?
it can be a little. It's towards the end. Like, okay, well, I'm
Okay,
not really saying anything, but I'm here. I guess from the beginning to the end, but I'm here to be with you. So
okay,
it's
okay.
just more of a
So
quietness.
okay, so there is. So your first point is that in this sequence there is a manifestation of emotional empathy. So that's correct. There is in fact a manifestation of emotional empathy in this sequence. So, but you're saying that it's kind of towards the, or you're saying all across through the whole thing, right? Okay, so what do others think? Everybody agrees? Anybody has a different thought, or who sees it differently? Does anybody see it in any other way?
I mean, I would say the same. I agree
Okay,
with
and
Sandra.
who's talking? Who's talking? Who is this?
Yali. Yali.
Okay, Yali. Okay, Yali. Okay, go ahead, Yali.
Yes, just because I mean it's not really understanding what the blue little one is thinking because it's not expressing his way of thinking. We haven't reached that point, I believe. And
Yes.
then I believe it's not the third one because there's no real action from the red one thinking I think I could help you this specific way towards your problem. It's like I just understand you feel bad. I still don't know why and how can I help you. Maybe I can just be around till I until we can reach another point of action. But right now I feel it's just I understand you feel bad. If you want to talk about it and explore options, I'll be with you. But otherwise, it has just reached the emotional point, I feel.
Okay, very good. That's great analysis. So then, where in the sequence is, so there are two questions. One is, what are the kinds of the three types of empathy? Which ones are manifested here and where? In what part of the sequence? And anybody can answer. So we had, was it Sandra that said earlier that emotional empathy is present? Absolutely, that's correct. So the question is, where is it manifested? As Sandra said, through the whole sequence. I'm curious, is everybody sees it in the same way? Anybody see it differently? What are your thoughts? And anybody wants to take a guess or wants to try? Otherwise, I can tell you, but obviously would love to hear from you. Anybody? Any brave volunteers? All right, so I'll go ahead and tell you. So one of the manifestation of emotional empathy is to have the sensitivity to notice that something is off, right? Is to feel people. So here, when the person comes in, it's like, hey, you're okay. The reason why he's asking is because he noticed that something was going on. Something is off. This person is not like they're always is. So this in the second part, so here, this is a manifestation of emotional empathies. I know I can feel that something is off. Then one of the manifestations of cognitive empathy is that in the search for understanding, we have to ask questions. If we want to know how somebody is thinking about something, we need to ask them questions. So these questions of are you okay? Do you want to talk about it and all that are a manifestation of cognitive empathy. I am trying to understand what are you thinking? What is making you feel this way? And then here, is the sensitivity that Sandra was talking about, manifestation of emotional empathy. And then this is manifestation of cognitive empathy. Sorry, not cognitive, empathetic concern. Is like, okay, I now know how you feel. I am trying to see how you think. What are your thoughts? I am perceiving that even though you are telling me that nothing is wrong, something is in fact wrong. And because of that, I have a willingness to act, to do something to reduce the pain that you are feeling. So emotional empathy, cognitive empathy, and empathetic concern or compassion. Okay. All right. So the way, let's see. Okay. Right. So actually, for some reason, I think I'm missing a slide that I meant to go through, but it's okay. Right. So in emotional intelligence, one of the things that we talk about is like self-focus, right? So if we live life just like kind of focused on ourselves, so self-focus is the ability to focus on ourselves. So I'm going to ask you in the audience, is self-focus a good thing or a bad thing in the leadership context, right? In the leadership context, sorry, is self-focus a good thing or a bad thing? Self-focus in the context of leadership, is self-focus a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it depends, no?
Who said that?
Ana Beatriz.
Okay, Ana Beatriz, it depends. Tell us about it.
Yeah, because obviously you have to be focused in the thing that you are going to do, um, but sometimes it's better not.
So
I got it.
what Ana Beatriz is talking is explaining the research through these graphs. So when we have a low self-focus right here, so if you look, this is self-focus, low self-focus, medium self-focus, and high self-focus. So when we have a low level of self-focus, we have our performance is low because we have no focus on ourselves. We don't know who we are. We don't know what our strengths and weaknesses are. So it's hard for us to be very competent when the first thing that we need to know and understand is ourselves and we don't, right? So our performance is low. And our liking score, which is how much people enjoy working with you, is also low because people don't like to work for bosses that have low self-awareness, low self-focus, and low performance. So, if you have a boss that doesn't know what they are doing, you're not very, enjoying that, right? So the liking score of people who have low performance is low. As if we start increasing our level of self-focus by putting more attention on ourselves, trying to learn more about ourselves, self-awareness, work on our strengths, our weaknesses, and all that, we are going to go from a low self-focus to an area here, a territory that is located between medium and high, and it's called the optimal level of self-focus. And this optimal level of self-focus is when you are combining, you have a very balanced combination of uh, focus on yourself and focus on others. When you do that, your performance goes to the top. You're going to operate at your highest performance when your level of self-focus is in this green zone or green territory called the optimal level of self-focus. Now, because like everything in life, you can continue to focus on yourself. You actually can go to the opposite. So here we have a problem. The person doesn't have focus on themselves. But here we have the opposite problem when the person has an excessive focus on themselves. So they are exaggerated, they are excessively focused on themselves. And when you do that, you actually come out of the optimal level of self-focus. And when you do that, your performance drops. So your performance that was here at the top while you were in the optimal level of self-focus actually will start dropping. And so that's your liking score, by the way, because just like when your performance here was low, your liking score was low. As your performance goes back down, as you are excessively focused on yourself, then your liking score will too. It's like people don't like to work for bosses that are excessively focused on themselves because it's like you go to talk to them and say, hey, I'm excited because it's my first anniversary. Oh, sir, first anniversary. I've been working here for 20 years, right? It's like everything is about themselves. Well, then people don't enjoy working for those kinds of leaders. If you ever work for a narcissistic leader, you know what I am talking about. Okay. All right, so I'm here in Minnesota, and some of you are like in East Coast, New York, and it's starting to get cold. And people will use the expression "I'm cold," right? But our brain was designed to protect us. So when one of the things that our brain has its guards up for threats, and something that is considered a threat by your brain is a lie. When somebody lies to you, then that is a threat because somebody could be lying to you because they want to scam you, right? So then it's like, hey, when somebody says something, you want to know, are they telling me the truth or not? So when somebody comes in and tells us about an experience they are having, like for example, in this case, somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm cold," you're like, what's going to happen is your brain will want to check if that person is lying to you or not. And to do that, your brain will transform your body into a thermometer so that you check the temperature for yourself because you want to check if in fact it is cold enough for that person to be cold. So you need to check if it makes sense for that person to be cold by checking the temperature yourself. So when somebody says to you, I'm cold, and you say, no, it's not cold. It's warm. I am warm. And the person says, no, 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 I'm sorry. I didn't say that it was cold. I said that I am cold, because I'm not talking about how it is. I'm talking about how I am. It may be warm, but I am cold. And you may be warm, but I am cold, because I don't need for you to be cold for me to be cold. I can be cold independently, right? So here's what happens is that emotional intelligence is understanding that emotions are felt subjectively. So if a person is cold, it doesn't need for you to be cold for that person to actually be cold. That person can be cold when you are not cold. So you can be hot. And so we can all be in one room, and different people can be experiencing the temperature differently. So it is absolutely entirely possible for someone to be cold while you're hot. So let's suppose that, for example, Ana Beatriz reports to me and comes to in the office, hey, Luis, I want to come and talk to you about something. Frank has been, he's been a jerk with me. He's been unreasonable and and I'm like, who? Frank, no, Ana Beatriz, what are you talking about? Frank is such a great guy. He's amazing. Like, he's my neighbor. We both live, here at the east side of town. We go golfing every Sunday. He's such a great person. I know their family. In fact, I spent Thanksgiving with them. So there's no way that Frank could be, that to you. Because the way that we, by default, we think that people are to experience the things in the same way that we experience them. So if Frank is a nice guy with me, I expect that everybody is to perceive Frank as being a nice guy. Well, in reality, that's not the case. It is absolutely possible for each of us to experience a person differently. So when somebody says to you, oh, so and so, that person is not a good person and all that, don't dismiss what the person is saying. Just like when somebody says to you, I'm cold, don't say, no, it's not cold. Don't say, oh, Frank is being unreasonable. No, Frank, oh my God, no. No, you have to say, oh, really? Well, tell me more about it. I want to learn. What was it? What was the situation? Can you tell me more? Oh, that's interesting. Good. Thank you for telling me, because, I have a different experience with Frank, but it's good to learn that, Frank is being like that with you. Well, let me address this. I'm going to talk with Frank to understand kind of what's happening here, because it is absolutely possible for Frank to be a person with you and to be a different person with me. And in fact, it's absolutely possible for you to experience a person in one way and for me to experience the same person in a different way. In fact, something that is more fascinating is that when you have a team reporting to you, everybody in your team experiences you as a boss differently. So it is possible for you to be perceived as a good boss by someone that works for you, and to be perceived as a bad boss by somebody else in your team. How can that be possible? Well, because they are experiencing you differently. For example, if you have somebody in your team that is not performing well and you are feeling like you need to micromanage them and you need to be on top of them and you're being more strict and kind of you're acting and behaving yourself in a certain way with that person, and you have somebody else in your team that is a rock star, he's working really well, he's performing, so you don't need to micromanage that person. You're going to be giving that person more responsibilities, you support that person more and all that. So for that person, you are a fantastic leader. But for the other person that you're on top of all the time and micromanaging and all that, that person does not perceive you as a great leader, right? Makes sense? For those of you that are parents, there's a lot of studies that have proven that actually our children, so I have two sons, our children experience us differently. So so like when I tell people, did you know that you are a different parent for each one of your children? People say, no, absolutely not. I love them all. Yeah, yeah. You love them all. They don't perceive you as the same person. And it makes sense because, in fact, if you have two children and there are like a 5-year difference between them, you are actually a different person to them. Because if you had a child, if you have your first child when you were in your low 20s, when you were between 20 and 25, and then you had another child when you were close to 40, you actually were a different person, right? So with one you were like more protective and that, and with the other you were different. So they are experiencing you differently because you were in fact a different person when you had them, right? If that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about this. Self-focus is important. We study a lot self-focus because actually self-focus has a role in how great leaders, how great a leader can be, because self-focus affects our listening. Here are two examples of how self-focus affects our listening. So the first one is that when people tell us something, the question that we have is, okay, is there a connection between what the person is telling me and my own world? So your brain is checking for relevancy. Is something relevant or not? So if I come in, if I have a kind of a Caucasian American boss, and I say, hey, boss, I'm not gonna come on Friday. And it's like, why? Well, because Friday is the final. Finals? Final? What finals for what? Like, are you in school? Are you taking some final test? No, it's like the finals. It's like the final for the World Cup. Aren't you watching it? It's like, oh no, what cup? What are you talking about? What is this cup thing? Yeah, like the World Cup, the World Soccer Cup. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know soccer. I don't like soccer, so I'm sorry. On Friday, we need to prepare for on Tuesday, we're gonna be going to visit the client, so I want us to get together on Friday, and I want you to come. But it's the final. I'm sorry, you have to come, right? So then, in this case, my brain is saying, all right, is there a connection between soccer in my world? Because the answer is no. Then the signal, right? It's gonna go. So it's like, okay, there's no connection. So my brain sends back a signal that says not relevant. So check out. You don't need to pay attention to the rest of the conversation because that's not important to you. So that's why when we are in a meeting, sometimes we are in a meeting and we are excited. Over the weekend, we were thinking about this idea and we were so excited about this idea. We're waiting for it to be Monday because we have a meeting with the team. When we meet with the team, we go ahead and we tell them we're so excited about our idea, and we tell them our idea. And then after we finish talking, we're like waiting to see what people think about our idea. What is the feedback? Do they like it? Don't like it? Do they want to do it? Don't want to do it? And then the next person that talks, that's something completely unrelated. Disconnect has nothing to do with what you said. It hurts you and you feel bad because you feel that you were not listened to, you were not heard, you were not seen, you were not acknowledged. And that happens because when you were talking, the next person, the person that talked next, what you were saying had no connection with their world. And once their world sent back a response that says, this is not relevant, it gave them permission to move on and start thinking about something else. So they were literally waiting for you to shut up, to stop, so they could then talk about their world, which is more important to them. So that as a manager and as a leader, that's terrible when you do that. So you need to learn to program your brain to when somebody says something, so in that example, hey, I'm an American, I'm here, I'm Caucasian, I don't like soccer, and I have an Argentinian in my team, like, hey, it's the World Cup, Argentina is gonna play, Instead of dismissing that, I need to talk to my brain and say, okay, brain, even though you've already sent me a signal that says that this is not relevant to me and that I should check out and not pay attention to this, I'm going to actually, I'm going to I'm not going to take that order and I'm going to shortcut that order and I'm going to actually pay attention because this is somebody in my team. I am a leader, I'm a manager, so I need to develop the muscle and the skill to learn to pay attention to something that otherwise would be irrelevant to me. So then I say, oh, Ana Beatriz, oh, soccer, okay. Ana Beatriz, tell me more about that. Oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Argentina. Oh, you're from Argentina. It's exciting. Where in Argentina? Buenos Aires, or tell me more about soccer. You have a favorite team, Argentina? Argentina is playing in the final. Yeah. Oh, who are they playing against? Oh, they're playing against France. Oh, very nice. What time is the game, right? And he's like, oh, are there other people in the company that would want to watch the team? Yeah, absolutely. We have, the entire team. We're talking about it. Well, let's go ahead and in the cafeteria, we have one of those screens. Let's talk with the guys in IT and we're going to play the game and we're all going to watch the game. And by the way, instead of going to work on the client's presentation on Friday afternoon, why don't we move that to Monday morning and we'll get together, right? So it's training your brain to be interested in somebody else's something that otherwise would not be important or relevant to you. And the second interesting thing about self-focus, and the reason why we study self-focus is because our brain has a function called fast fact check. It's a fact checker. So when people tell us things, we need to know, is that true or not? Is that true or not? Right. So I'm gonna say this to you. Okay, and I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment and I'll come back to these and I'll say, okay, there are people who jump out of flying airplanes without a parachute. There are people who there are people who jump out of flying airplanes without a parachute. What do you guys think? You guys believe it or don't believe it? There are people who jump out of flying airplanes thousands of feet up in the sky, and they jump out of a plane without a parachute. Do you believe it or you don't believe it?
Well, I can believe that there is someone who is not in their mind. I mean, it's kind of crazy or something. But
Mhm.
yes, I can um, see that someone can go out the airplane without the parachute without thinking.
So, okay, exactly. Good. So I'll come back to you, Anna. Anybody else? What about Carolina, Yerdy, Anna, Yali? Do you guys believe it? Don't believe it? What do you think?
I mean, I would think there might be someone out there in the world willing to do that.
Yeah.
I
But
just
you're
wouldn't.
finding it hard to believe, right? You're finding it hard to
But
believe,
yes,
right?
like
Yeah. Okay.
someone out there. I don't
So,
know anybody, but just someone.
yeah. So I'll explain why it is hard for you to believe it. The reason why it's hard for you to believe it is explained in this graphic right here that we were looking at, is because your brain is asking these two questions. The first question is, has that happened to me? So basically, your brain is thinking, have I ever jumped out of an airplane without a parachute? If the answer is no, you say that may not be true because I have not done it myself. And then the other question that your brain asks is, have I seen it with my own eyes? If you haven't seen it, your brain says that may not be true because you haven't seen it. So basically, we live our lives demanding that for something to be true and for us to be able to believe something, we have to either have done it ourselves, it has to have happened to us directly, or we have to have seen it with our own eyes. But if we have it, if we don't see it with our own eyes, it cannot be truth. But I'm gonna break it to you guys, to all you in the live session, and for anyone watching this remotely, is that there are a million things, millions and millions of things that you have never seen with your own eyes, that you're not seeing today with your own eyes, and that you will never see with your own eyes in the rest of your life that are absolutely true. So there are a million things that have never happened to you that are not happening to you right now, and that will never happen for the rest of your life that are absolutely true. For example, even though you have never jumped out of an airplane without a parachute, and that you don't plan to do that, and you have never seen it with your own eyes, and that you will may never see it in the rest of your life, it is absolutely true that there are people who jump out of airplanes without a parachute. Now, the question is, how do they do it? Well, they do it because they jump out of a plane without a parachute. And once they are flying in the air without a parachute, minutes later, another person with a parachute jumps out of the airplane, and then in the air, they capture the person and then they bring the person down safely to ground. So that is a practice that people do out there, and you can go on YouTube and you can find videos of people doing that. They say that the experience is amazing. I think that it has a religious thing, a spiritual thing, that if you jump out of an airplane without a parachute, you believe in God because, wow, God has to be big to save me from that. But you can go out there and check it out how people do that. All right. But it makes sense that you didn't believe it because your brain is working. Your brain is saying that it cannot be true. Your brain is trying to protect you because your brain doesn't want me to lie to you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go with you through this model. It's called the Dustin model. It's designed to help leaders be more empathetic. So in this, we're gonna think about an example is that I run into Iyali, right? And Iyali, I say, hey, Iyali, what's going on? I say, well, Luis, I just I'm coming from my performance review. I just received my feedback from my performance review. And, our performance review is from 1 to 5, 1 being super low and 5 being the top. And I got a 2 out of 5. And I say, what? A 2 out of 5? Oh my gosh, wow, that's terrible. Iyali, a 2 out of 5. Then Yali says, "Oh, but you know that actually last year was a terrible year for me because there was a combination of things in the personal and professionally. Professionally, that I've always been in sales. They sent me to do this, cross-functional gig there in marketing. So I was in marketing for 1 year, and I hated marketing and liked it. And I was reporting to Teresa. Teresa is we never saw eye to eye. She never liked me, and we're just terrible. And then on the personal side, I was going, Michael and I were, going through a tough situation there. I thought that we were going to separate or divorce. My dad was in the hospital, and we didn't know if he would make it. We were trying to sell the house. This house wouldn't sell. Our car broke. I mean, it's like everything combined in the well. But Ana Beatriz, I used to report to Ana Beatriz, and she loves me. She was the one who brought me to the company. She gave me this job. I used to work for her. I worked for Ana Beatriz for 10 years, and in those 10 years, she promoted me twice. She's always been a mentor for me. She believes in me. She has written letters of recommendation for me. I won a few awards because Ana Beatriz has nominated me for those awards. And during all the time that I was in marketing, Ana Beatriz was insisting, oh, come on, come, Yali, come to work for me, come to work for me, until I finally said, yes, Ana Beatriz, I'm going to go back to work for you. So I'm excited because it's going to go great. I'm going to have a great year. I'm super excited, super happy, right? And when Iyali finishes talking, my reaction to her is, wow, yeah, a 2 out of 3. Oh my gosh, that is terrible. So I'm going to help you because I'm a good person, I'm a good leader. So I'm going to help you. If you have a resume, please send me your resume, and I'm going to talk. I have some friends that are recruiters, and I can talk to them so they can help you find a job somewhere else, so that you can go work in somewhere else because you got a 2 out of 5. So question for you, how did I do as a leader in a scale from 1 to 10? I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment. Oops, stop sharing. So everybody if you guys are like camera ready, I would love if you can turn on your cameras. But how did I do as a leader in that situation? Rate me, I want you to rate me, evaluate me based on my response to Iyali once she told me her situation and her story, right? I said, oh, Yali, I'm a good person. Send me your resume. I have some friends that are recruiters. We're going to help you. We're going to help you. We're going to help you find a job out of here because you need a job. You got a 2 out of 5. Rate me. How great a leader am I? From 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. What number do you give?
Just because I was in the example, I think I can go first.
Okay, yes, very excited. This is about you, Yali. This story is about you.
It's okay. I would say that while you had good intentions and at the end you told me like, I'm gonna help you find a job, it's just terrible because you're like supporting the you're bad here, you need to leave. Even though you're saying it nicely, like I'll help you find another solution, you're like, but yeah, you're a 2 out of 5 or a 2.5 out of 5. And it's like, I mean, yes, but you're not completely considering the background and the context, which is important.
Absolutely, I love it. Okay, let's talk more about that. Who else has anybody else would like to add or Bill or anybody else has any? Well, we'll come back to what Yali just said, but before I do that, I'm curious. Anybody else has any thoughts on that? See, Yali is saying I'm a terrible leader, but I am helping. I'm offering to get her another job. Right? So wow, how can I be a terrible leader that I am helping her to find a job? Ana Beatriz, am I a terrible leader? I'm helping her to find a job.
Well, I think we have to understand the situation. If the company needs to change the position, needs to change the people, I think the leader has to talk um, with more clarity and say, "Hey, listen, I need to move this space," or we are looking for another perspective, no, for example. So I mean, we have to know more about that kind of change.
Okay. So, well, here is the dynamic
I
that is happening. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, just very quick. In my experience, in my case, when I see that somebody doesn't really belong in that position, well, first I try to kind of see how is that person, and how to come across with a communication with them, and just always I try to first like establish some kind of like empathy of the moment that they are going through, and say, you know what, I see that you are growing very nice in this company, but I think that you have more to give. So I don't want to stop you. I wish that you can, I mean, I can introduce you to another leaders that maybe you can fit into the other companies. But I think that you have a future ahead to write. So
But
that's it. And they were like, oh, I mean, I mean, I don't know if it's like a cocoa wash or something, but it's kind of like encourage that you can do better.
But that's what that person is doing. But what Iyali is saying is, well, but that's not the whole story. What happened with the rest of the thing? Because the story is the person is saying, hey, Ana Beatriz invited me to go work with her. Ana Beatriz really likes me. She brought me to the company. She gave me the job. She's promoted me twice. She's nominated me for awards. And actually, I forgot to say that on my personal side, things got better. I am back with Michael. My dad is out of the hospital. We sold the house. The car was repaired. Everything is good. We're looking great, right? So in this case, one of the things that happened, the reason why a leader would do that and go back to the 2 out of 5 is because something that happens in our brain is that when we hear something that is shocking, like, when we started the conversation, Yali said, I got a 2 out of 5. When I hear that line, a 2 out of 5, it basically, it shocks my brain. It's like it's a 2 out of 5. And when Iyali was telling me all this story about Beatriz is inviting me to go back and everything, I'm excited, it's going to be great and everything. My brain cannot even listen to that because my brain's still spinning in the 2 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 2 out of 5. So when Iyali is telling me the rest of the story, in my head, I am going through, wow, a 2 out of 5. That's very low. In my experience, people who have 2 out of 5, that means that they have to leave the organization. I have never had a 2 out of 5. So as I'm having all these thoughts about the 2 out of 5, I am missing the opportunity to hearing what Iyali is telling me that actually is great. She's excited. Everything is, things are going to be really good. She has actually a very strong future in the company, right? So this dusting model is designed to prevent you from doing that, right? So the dusting model, in the dusting model, the D is to detect, to identify the feeling, emotion, or experience that someone is expressing. uh, Understand is to appreciate someone's story, believe it to be true and important, then share timely, right? So then here is like, okay, I understand that you are excited, you are optimistic. Then I'm going to understand that you are optimistic because you're going to go work for Ana Beatriz, and Ana Beatriz has given you all these opportunities. Ana Beatriz is a mentor and a sponsor for you, so it makes sense, logistically it checks. The math works here. And then share timely is to then, join the feeling. Oh, you're excited. Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad that you're happy about it. Wow, I'm happy for you. Let's celebrate. It's good. I'm so happy you're going to work for Ana Beatriz, right? And then intentionally is you need to follow up with an intention. So, wow, Yali, what are you doing? What time do you leave today? Are you leaving at 5? Oh, that's great. When we leave, you want to stop by? There is a Starbucks. We can go and have some coffee together. And so I follow up with an action. And by the way, I have a book at home in transitioning from going back to sales from a cross-functional. It's a great book. I'm going to bring it on Monday so that you can read it. It's going to help you. You follow up with an action. So it's also there is a vector called feel, understand, and act. So here you have a sensitivity to feel what somebody is feeling. Then you have a cognitive empathy to understand what somebody is telling you, their logic pattern of their thinking. And then the moral quotient here to act based on your empathetic concern or your compassion to act and help somebody with an intention. Okay. All right. So, oops. Here is a way that Harvard looks at it. It's on the lower bottom, we have the understanding of somebody else's experience, and here is the willingness to do something about it. When you don't want to understand, when you're not interested in understanding somebody else's experience and you're not willing to do anything about it, you sit in the pity territory. And the language for that is, I feel sorry for you. Then as we increase our interest in understanding somebody else's experience and we're more willing to do something about it, we enter the sympathy territory. I feel for you. And then if we continue in that vector, we enter the empathy territory. That is, I feel with you. I accompany you in what you are feeling. And then the highest manifestation of emotional intelligence is called empathetic concern, empathy, compassionate empathy, or compassion, where you say, not only that I am here and I feel with you, I am here to help you. I'm going to do something for you. And this graphic shows it. In this case, this person is showing that they have a problem. You're like, well, that's too bad. That is the pity and sympathy territory. But if we look here in the empathetic concern, in compassion, compassion is empathy combined with action. I have the empathy to understand how you are feeling and how you're thinking, and I have the intentionality to act, to look for the tools that will help me to help you to solve the problem that you have. Okay, so I'm gonna skip this just because of oops, sorry. I am going to just have that. Sorry about that. Plugins. Had a technical difficulty here. All right. Okay, so you're here. I'm gonna just skip through these. Okay, so we have about 25 minutes in the final 25 minutes. I'm going to give you a gift because we are in December, and December is a great time for gifts. So my gift to you is I'm going to give you 5 tips to become a more empathetic person, a more empathetic leader, a more empathetic professional, a more empathetic boss. So I'm going to give you 5 tips that if you learn them and practice them, I am absolutely convinced, and I can guarantee you that you will increase your level of empathy and compassion. All right. So empathy is a gift. So you can give others, especially in December at the end of the year in the holidays, give others the gift of empathy, which is the gift of the moment. Is you place yourself and your own experiences, belief, feelings, emotions on pause in order to have the generosity, the courtesy, the thoughtfulness to honor the other person's moment. From a visual standpoint, when somebody walks into your office and says, Iyali or Ana Beatriz, I need to talk with you, something that is important to them, you need to visualize that there is a piece of furniture that has a drawer. You open the drawer, you take what's in your beautiful universe and your beautiful world, everything that matters to you, everything that is relevant to you, everything that is important to you, you take it temporarily, symbolically, and you imagine that you're placing all of that is important to you, you're putting in that drawer, and then you close the drawer and you put everything that is important to you aside for a moment so that you can concentrate on what's important to the person that is in front of you. All right. So on that note, the very first tip that I have for you to become a more empathetic person is to understand and to learn that it's not about you. It cannot always be about you. It may be about you sometimes. There are instances where it can be about you. If it's your graduation, if it's your wedding, if it's your promotion, if something is your birthday, something would happen to you, it can be about you. It can be about you a few times a year. But it cannot always be about you, because if you make it that you are the protagonist of everything and you always have to be the star and everything has to be about you, that will limit your ability to be a great leader. Where people come to talk to you, hey, uh, you know, Jessica, did you know that I went to Chicago? Oh, Chicago! Oh my God, did you know that I am from Chicago? Last weekend I went to Chicago. I saw my brother Frank, and we went to this Italian restaurant. It's like, okay, can I tell you what I was going to tell you? So everything is about that, right? So it's important that you understand that it cannot always be about you. That's tip number one. Tip number two is timing and context are critical. Our brains are making, millions of connections in microseconds, but not all of those connections are good connections. Some of those connections are wrong connections, and it is better to have no connection than to have a bad connection, because there are some bad connections that are so bad that are very hard to come back from. For example, if I went to a Mexican restaurant and I was having dinner there, and then, with my wife, and I go to the bathroom, and the bathroom, the restroom are busy. So I have to wait outside for somebody to come out of the restroom so I can go in. And somebody walks by and says, oh, hi, can you give me a menu? I was like, yeah, I can find somebody who works here, and they can give you a menu. Oh, I'm so sorry, you don't work here. No, I don't. So it's like you made a wrong connection, because maybe the way I look, because I look Latino, and you thought that I was maybe Mexican, and that people who work here are Mexican, and because it's a Mexican restaurant, it's like, yeah, your brain is making a connection that is actually not true. So it's like sometimes when our brain hears two elements, your brain makes the third element. It's a connection element. So for example, there is an experiment when they tell people two words, like if you say, for example, if you say to a person, airline and woman, a lot of people will respond, uh, how do you call it? Like flight steward, right? Flight attendant. So it's like, okay, airline and woman, flight attendant. So what happens is that a woman is at the airport, and you say, oh, I'm going on the flight. We're gonna go on the same flight. Oh, okay. You work for the airline? Yes. Oh, okay. You are a flight attendant? No, I'm actually the pilot. Or oh, I'm actually the general manager for North America and Europe. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, that's okay. You made a mistake. You're making a connection that is wrong, because when you hear in your mind airline and woman, you think of a flight attendant. But women don't have to be flight attendants. There are thousands of jobs in an airline that a woman can have, including the CEO. It's like, oh, you're a flight attendant. No, I'm actually the CEO. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, that's okay. You're making a wrong connection. So it's like, oh, I am Native American. Oh, you're Native American. What a coincidence. Last night I was watching a movie, Dancing with the Wolves. I'm sorry. What did you just say? Right. So we're making those wrong connections. So we have to be careful with that. So no connection is better than a bad connection. Timing and context are critical. On the personal side, oh, I'm coming from the hospital, because my mother was diagnosed with cancer. Oh my God, cancer! What kind of cancer? Well, like X, leukemia. Oh, wow. That is the same kind of cancer that my neighbor had. And my neighbor, they told him like within 3 months, he died, right? So it's like, wow, I get it. Your brain is making that connection, but we need to learn to stop and be mindful about what are the things that we're saying. And we can be saying every connection that comes in our head, right? So in that particular case, That is the worst thing that somebody wants to hear. When somebody's coming back from the hospital and they got a diagnostic, they don't want to hear that you make a connection with somebody else that had that same diagnostic and died in, in a few months, right? So you have to learn to train yourself to not make those connections. And if you make them, to not bring them out because it may not be appropriate. So, okay, number three is embrace any and all feelings. So we think about empathy like, hey, you are sad, I am sad with you. But actually, empathy is not about being sad with other people. It's about embracing all the feelings, any of the feelings, which actually include positive feelings. So if you are happy, it's for me to learn to be happy with you, right? It's like, okay, even though, so, let's see who else is in the Ana, right? So I'm always using like Iyali and Ana Beatriz in the. So we have Ana, not Ana Beatriz, but just Ana. Ana and I are unemployed and we're looking for jobs. And then we both applied to a job target. And then I get an email that says, thank you, but no thank you. No vas para el baile, no job for you. And then, I'm sad. And then Anna contacts me and says, Luis, guess what? Oh, what happened, Anna? Oh, I got the job. They sent me an offer. I have a job from Target. I'm going to start, on Monday. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Good for you. But be careful because there are a lot of layoffs right now. In fact, I have a friend that received an offer and they rescind the offer. They took the offer back. So don't be too happy because you don't know if that offer is actually going to stand. They may take it back from you, right? So I am acting that way because I am not able to feel the happiness with Anna because since I didn't get the job offer, the fact that I did not get that benefit, that victory, is impeding me from being able to congratulate Anna or to be happy for Anna because something that didn't happen to me is happening to somebody else. It's like if I divorced and then somebody else is excited because they are getting engaged and he's like, hey, I just got engaged. Well, okay, good for you, but enjoy it while it lasts, right? The first few years are good, but just wait until, right? It's like we can't be living that way. We have to learn to be happy with other people. When somebody's sad, we're sad with them. When somebody's happy, we're happy with them. When somebody's optimistic, we're optimistic with them. It's learning to embrace all of the feelings, positive and negative, and all of them, okay? And four is let people own their own experience. What ends up happening is that when people come to us and tell us that something bad is happening to them, our default is to tell them that what is happening to them is really not that bad. So when somebody tells you, hey, I, whatever, it's like they're saying, hey, my grandmother passed away. Oh, but how old was she? Well, she was 80 years old. Oh, but 80 years old, she lived a very long life. And, you shouldn't be sad. You should be happy. And that death is nothing bad. Death is something good. Death is part of life. It's, you are born, you grow up, you die. It's a good thing. You should be happy. Why don't we make like a party about, let's celebrate that your grandmother passed away. I have some tequila in my house. We can go ahead and do some shots. It's like, no, I am sad. For me, the death of my grandmother is something very important for me. My grandmother was the most important person in my life, and I want to honor her by being sad. So let's not tell people that what is happening to them is not that bad. We need to honor and recognize the pains of other people, right? Oh, your grandmother passed away. I'm so sorry to hear that. Tell me more about your grandmother. What was your grandmother's name? Oh, Grace. Oh, I'm sorry about your grandmother, Grace. What kind of grandmother was she? What are the memories that you have of her? Are you okay right now? Do you want me to be here with you? Do you want me to leave you alone? Do you want me to bring you some water? How can I support you in this difficult moment that you're going through? Okay. So it's important to not, otherwise we're like, okay, oh, I'm having problems in my job. Well, at least you have a job. Look at the positive side of things. You have a job. It's like, hey, I'm calling you here from the highway. I have a flat tire. Well, but Iyali, look at the positive thing. Did you say one flat tire? Well, your car has 4 tires, so it's only one of the three. It's only a fourth of the tires in your car are, the other three are good. It's like we gotta stop that car. You can be doing that, right? So, right. And the last one is to be intentional. So the highest manifestation of emotional intelligence is empathetic concern, and the key element of empathetic concern is intentionality. We should not just say to people things, beautiful things, oh, count on me, I'll be there for you, and blah, blah, blah. Because you say, oh, call me anytime, Ana Beatriz, if you ever need me, call me or email me, I will be there for you. But then when Ana Beatriz needs me, she's emailing me and texting me and calling me, and I'm nowhere to be found. So it's like, no, intentionality is the most important part because it's part of a empathetic concern, which is having the compassion to really be there for other people when they need us. Okay. So these are the 5 tips to become a more empathetic leader, a more inclusive leader, a more compassionate leader, and a happier leader. Because when you are there for others intentionally, you will have a better well-being and you will be happier. So it's not about you. Timing and context are critical. Embrace any and all feelings. Let people own their experience and be intentional. So, before we finish today's session here in our last 10 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and do a little exercise here just in a few minutes with a few of us that are here. So, the question is, so I'm going to start with you, Ana Beatriz, that you've been, very active in today's session. So, do you think that any of the 5 tips or anything else or any technique of any of the things that we discussed today in our training may help you in your leadership journey, in your journey to continue to become a better and better leader? Do you think that any of the 5 tips may help you or anything else that we discussed in today's session?
No, I think all of them are very, very good tips, and yeah, they helps a lot.
Okay, all the 5. Very good. So now, Ana Beatriz, I need you to select somebody else from our session today. Iyali, Ana, Jerdy, or Carolina. So pick someone.
Ay, well, mi tocaya, Ana, if it's
Okay, Ana. All right, so Ana, are you there? Do we still have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. So, Ana, your tocaya, Ana Beatriz, selected all of the 5 tips. So we need you to select at least one of the tips. 1, 2, 3, 4, or all 5. But do you remember the tips?
There. Give me a second. Let me go to another area that is
Okay.
not so crowded. Okay.
Okay.
This is not good. I am in a
Yeah.
convention. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So, well, one of the tips that I think is one of the important is the empathy.
Huh?
Empathy, I think in the beginning when you start saying that we have to be in the place of the other ones, in that case,
Uh-huh.
we know how to communicate, how to develop our message,
Mhm.
and how, I guess, the goal that we have is gonna give us the way how to communicate with that person. So if
Okay.
let's say that, no, go ahead.
Okay, so we were talking about like 5 tips to give the gift of empathy. One of them was it's not about you, right? So it cannot always be about you. Like you cannot be the star and the protagonist for every story and everything. And then the second one was timing and context matter, right? And you're making all these connections in your head. But when somebody comes to tell you, hey, I was diagnosed with cancer, you're not to say, oh, wow, what a coincidence. My cousin died from cancer last week, because that's a wrong connection. The third was to embracing any and all feelings, positive feelings, negative feelings. Somebody is happy, I'm happy with the person. The fourth one was that when somebody tells us that something negative is happening to them, we need to honor them and let them own their experience. So if they are sad, it's okay for them to be sad. We should not tell them, oh, come on, don't be sad. No, that's
Yeah.
not bad. It's good.
Yeah.
And then the fifth one is to be intentional, right? So don't stop at the words, oh, yeah, I'll be there for you, but follow up with an actual action. So of those 5 tips, is there any of those 5 that you think can help you in your leadership journey?
I think that number 4, and this
Mhm,
happened right now with me. I'm recently divorced,
mhm.
and a lot of people they just keep saying, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be fine. Everything is no,
Yes,
no.
exactly. That's a
Like
great
it's not
example, right?
fun.
It's like, hey, you
Yeah,
are going through a
yeah. Like I
difficult
mean,
moment in your
probably
life.
if the person has been in my position and maybe she can
Exactly.
or he understand what is going through financially, physically, economically, mentally, spiritual, everywhere. So I
You
kind
have
of
it.
have a feeling that number 4 is more adept because you are just um, you are acknowledge the moment that the other people is going through. You don't put
Exactly.
yourself as example. You don't minimize the way that they are feeling, and at the
Exactly.
same time you just say, you know what, you are very strong because you are doing this by yourself. Is if is anything that I can help you, let me know. Like
Well,
let the door open, but that's it.
yeah,
Don't say
yeah.
anything else.
That's a wonderful example. So let's go ahead and play that out. We're going to role play. So I'm going to ask you, hey, what's going on? You're going to tell me that you're going through a divorce, and we're going to do it 2 times. In the first time, I'm going to do it in the way that you say, where I have no empathy. I just like, I'm going to do it incorrectly, and then we're going to do it again in the way that it should be done. Okay. So maybe, Ana
Okay.
Beatriz, I'm going to do the wrong one and then you're gonna go ahead and do the right one. Okay, Ana
Okay.
Beatriz? So I'm gonna go to Ana and say, hey Ana, what's going on? How are you doing? How's your family? How's your husband? You guys are were you going on vacation? Were you in Thanksgiving together? Did you guys go on a vacation together, you and your husband? How are things with you and your husband? How are you? Is everything great?
First of all, I am in shock, right? You got in shock,
Hmm.
and I can say, eh, you got me cold.
Hmm.
And I probably gonna say, it's not your business. I don't know. I don't know
Is that
because
how
you
you
know
say?
what? Because it
No, no, no.
really it shock you. It really shock you.
I know,
And
I know.
yeah,
Totally, totally. But so let's play it out. So you just have to tell me that you're going through a divorce so that we can do this role play. So
yeah,
it's like,
that's
oh,
right.
you had yeah. So you had your th Thanksgiving with your husband. Everything's going great. You guys, did you go traveling with your husband?
Well, I probably laugh. I'm gonna be like laughing. I'm like, oh, this is a joke, right? This is a
Why, why,
joke.
why a joke? Tell me what's going on. What's happening? What's happening?
Well,
Anything?
uh, maybe you missed some news or lately, but 2 years ago I am separated and I got a divorce.
Oh,
So
but come on, Anna. Congratulations, Anna. That's wonderful that you got a divorce. I have so many friends that got a divorce. In fact, you know that there is a new thing now, Anna, that we celebrate divorces because divorce is actually a great thing. People used to look at a divorce like something bad. Oh, man, I think divorce is the best thing that could have happened to you. You know what? I have a tequila at home. Why don't we go and do some shots together? You should be happy because divorce, there's so many wonderful things about divorce. I am so congratulations. I'm so happy for you that you are divorced. That is amazing, right? That would be somebody without empathy. But we're going to play it again. Ana Beatriz is going to do it the right way, right? So she's going to ask you about you and your husband. You will say that you're going through a divorce, and we're going to watch Ana Beatriz letting you own your experience, honoring your experience, and not telling you that what you're going through is not that bad. Okay, let's play it again. Go ahead, Ana Beatriz. No, you're on mute. Mute. You're on mute. All right,
Okay.
let's do it.
Hi, Anna. It's been a long time since I've been seeing you. How are you? How is everything?
Well, it's thank you for calling me. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Well, lately I've been passing for a very hard time, but I think that I'm taking it slow and I'm trying to go very easy on. I mean, I try to just don't talk too much with so many people, so that's why I didn't probably call you before. But because I got divorced and I am separating, so it's been tough time.
I'm so sorry, Anna. I'm so sorry. I have been in your feet someday. I was in your feet, so I know how you feel. I'm so sorry for you. I'm here with you for you if you need to talk with someone else, with someone, and if I can help you in something, really, really count on me.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Beatrice.
So wonderful. And this is great. I love it because, we talk about empathetic concern, right? Empathetic concern, the highest manifestation of empathetic concern is a compassion to follow up with intentionality. So Ana Beatriz did great to say, I am here to help if you need anything, let me know, I'll be willing to help you. And then just in feedback, one of the things, Ana Beatriz, that I would say is in tip number one, it's not about you, right? Is that we try to relate. Another way in which we try to provide comfort is by relating, by telling the people that what has happened to them has happened to us too. But we have to watch for that because then that can also be perceived as it's like, for example, for Anna, Anna, this is her role. She's getting divorced. It's super important. When you say to her, oh no, Anna, I am divorced too. I also have, you're looking for that connection, but that can steal some of the moment from her to you. So it goes back to it's not about you. So then what we do is, even though you have also been divorced, you kind of put that aside for a moment and don't concentrate on that. Just concentrate on Anna's situation. So Anna, I'm so sorry, hey, I'm here for you. If there's anything that you need, let me know, right? Blah, blah. So, well, okay, good. So I ask you that, so we're going to share the slides, we're going to share this recording, and then I would ask that you look at the 4 tips. It's not about you. Timing and context are important. Embrace any and all feelings. Let people own their experiences and be intentional. And I guarantee you, after doing this for over a decade, that if you practice this and practice it and practice it over the next few weeks and months, you will be a more empathetic and more compassionate person. And that will make you a better leader, a more inclusive leader, a more understanding leader, a leader that has more compassion, more empathy, and a happier leader, because a leader that has more empathy and more compassion and can help and can connect with other people in a way that is more human is a leader that would have more well-being for themselves and for others in the company. It's been a pleasure to spend the past couple of hours with you guys. Thank you for joining, for being here with us. Ana, Beatriz, Yali, Jerdy, Carolina, and all Refugio, Amalia, others that joined earlier and had to drop out for other commitments. It's been really a pleasure to share these, some of the components from my work and my research. If this is something that is of interest to you, let me know if I can help you in any way. And like I said at the beginning, we're doing this also so that we learn more about each other and our work and expertise. If you're ever are in a situation where you hear of someone that is looking for services around this, we're looking for the partnership and solidarity that we can be recommending and referencing among ourselves, so that we can support each other in our professional, growth and career journeys, but also in our businesses as we're looking for new business development opportunities. Thank you very much. Have a great night, and I look forward to enjoying more in the next, virtual sessions with other experts. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you. Bye bye.
bye, Anna.
Bye.
Anna, bye, Carolina. See you guys. Bye bye.